Last week, we shared part 1 of our Alaska Highway series.
What are you most excited for?
Bears. That is disgusting. We just had our first wildlife sighting. Today, we pick up on day 4 as we head toward the Yukon and grab some R&R at a hot spring along the way.
Let's go!
Day 4. This was such a perfect campsite. I kind of wish we could stay here longer, but at the same time, I'm really excited for our next several stops. So we're gonna get going. We plan to leave at 10 a.m. It is 11 a.m. In Stephen and Andy fashion, we're getting a late start. Anyhow, it's time to head out now. We're gonna drive up along Muncho Lake, and there's a great scenic outlook up there that we're gonna check out. Then we have a hike planned, and then we are finally getting to Liard Hot Springs. And I might just stay there all afternoon until they kick me out. Oh my gosh, can you believe this view? We've just driven from Strawberry Flats Campground up to the north end of Muncho Lake. It's just a few minutes drive. And this is one of the pullouts right off of the highway. It is incredible. And actually, I'm pretty sure you could probably sleep here too. From what I understand, all of these pullouts here, there's no overnight or no camping signs of any kind posted at any of them. And so I think you can just sleep at whatever one you like if you're up for boondocking.
Look at this perfect little tuck away here for spending the night.
That is the boondocking spot right there. If you can't get one of the camp spots, just back into that between the trees. You're good to go. Check out the campgrounds if you're interested in camping here. They're $20 each, and there are 2 of them. Strawberry Flats is the first one you're gonna come across. It's on the south end of the lake. Then about halfway up the lake is McDonald Campground. Both campgrounds are $20. They have about 15 spaces each, and they are first come, first serve for the most part. There are 5 spaces in each one that, as of, I think, 2023, are reservable. So definitely check your information, though, because these things do change. You can reserve your spots in advance if you know exactly when you're gonna get here. But if you're a little more fly by the seat of your pants like we are, then you can take your chances, get one of the first come, first serve spaces. But these places are very popular, so if you're gonna go that route, I would recommend coming early. But if you don't manage to get a spot, as I mentioned, there are pullouts along the lake. There was one right before McDonald Campground on the opposite side of the highway with a really pretty view of the lake. And then also this one here at the north end of the lake. Both of these have plenty of room, and they would be great places to spend the night. We read about this trail called Mineral Licks Trail. It's supposed to be a pretty short, pretty easy hike, and the potential to see some wildlife. So we were really excited for that. So we entered the destination into our offline maps and took off. And well, in the middle of the highway, we were suddenly told we were at our destination. But we don't see any trailhead. So we turned around, we doubled back to see if maybe we passed something that could be it. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but we did find this one pull off on the freeway just a little bit before the marker on maps. And there is a trail up there. There's also a lot of poop here. I hope it's horse poop, because there is a lot. Like, there was a herd of something here. And this is also kind of a bison and elk and caribou area, and I don't want to like walk up on a herd of bison or something. That scares me. All right, Stephen got the bear spray. He's working his way through the minefield of poop. There's a lot of poop in this video, I'm starting to realize. Since we're curious and probably not very smart, we're just gonna wander in a little bit and just kind of see if this feels like someplace we want to go or not. Making plenty of noise, so hopefully nothing comes at us. Just keeping our eyes peeled. It's like, on the one hand, we really want to see wildlife. On the other hand, we don't want to see it too close. This is the thing we're coming to realize about the AlCan Highway. You don't even really need to go on hikes unless you just want to stretch your legs, which we kind of do, which is why we're picking the really easy ones to begin with. But honestly, there is so much to see just from the road, especially wildlife-wise. You're nice and safe in your vehicle. You can just drive right by. You don't even have to stop. It's kind of wonderful just driving. All right, we just got to this big open kind of area, and I'm hearing water very close by, which is nice. There's no path that seems to go right down to the water, but it's flowing right there on the other side of the trees. It sounds beautiful. Oh, pretty! Looks like we were scared for nothing. This was an easy walk right to the edge of the water. We just have all these images in our head of terrible things happening. I think because the woman at the Taylor Visitor Center told us some really terrifying stories about grizzly encounters and stuff, and we've been just a little bit scared and paranoid, I think, ever since.
The skeptic in me would like to remind her that we still have to make it out.
All right, we started just over there where those trees are on the opposite side of the field. The water is just on the other side of them, and this is how far it is back to the van.
I'll hold the door.
And there's Ace. So as you can see, very easy, very short. So I don't know if that was actually Mineral Lake's trail or just another trail we happened on, but we'll do a little research and whatever it is, we'll put on the screen. It's gotta be here. This is it. There's a sign right there, Mineral Lakes. Check it out. There's the freeway, and there is the drive-in. And this is the parking for Mineral Lakes Trail. So much better. I feel dumb. Do you feel dumb?
A little bit, yeah.
We found it! Yay! Okay, it is much better marked than we realized. The problem is we were relying on Google Maps, which was offline and probably didn't exactly know where we were. And that probably contributed to us getting sent to a further point down the Alaska Highway. But we doubled back, we found it. It is marked, but you gotta use your eyes, not your maps. This is the problem with technology. We learn to rely on it too much. So this is a good lesson for us. And hopefully you can just learn through our misadventures. Anyhow, here we are. This is the information board telling you what you can expect on the hike. There are stone sheep, look at that. I don't know what the difference are between stone sheep and the rams that we see in the US, or if it's just different names because different countries and different regions. There's also this amazing view here. Woo. And the reason I'm showing you this is because as we made our way here, the weather turned. And when we first parked just a couple minutes ago, it was sprinkling and we were like, yeah, we'll go. It's not that bad. But even just between that time and the time I put on the hat and my puffer and got out of the car, it's gotten a lot harder. And we can see stuff rolling in from that way and it seems to be coming this way. So we don't want to be out on the trail if it starts to really downpour on us. We're just not that adventurous. So I'm showing you this so that hopefully you have an easier time finding this amazing sounding trail for yourself if you come up here. And we're just going to chalk it up to misadventures and move on down the highway to Laird Hot Springs now. Two bears. Looks like a baby and a mama. We parked across the street in overflow parking because it's full and there's some construction in the parking area here. And now we are walking up to enjoy an afternoon soaking. Did you notice the wardrobe changes, by the way? We started out chilly this morning, but now it is nice and warm, thank goodness.
This is obviously a must-stop spot on the Alaska Highway. It's $5 per person for day use, or they also have the option for overnight camping.
We'll definitely be watching for these local hazards. And yes, we brought our bear spray with us.
Because nothing says relaxation like self-defense.
Make sure you touch the insulated parts.
Touching the insulated.
It's actually a further walk than I was anticipating from the parking lot. This is kind of nice. It just goes through nature, lots of trees, little areas to get information along the way. I'm hoping it feels as natural when we get to the springs themselves as it feels just walking to them.
Not only is it already warm, but it's starting to feel really tropical the farther back we get. It's humid.
Just like Steven said, tropical.
Do I know what I'm talking about or what?
Here it is. We just ran into a couple here that we camped next to back in Dawson Creek. So chances are good you're gonna be crisscrossing and kind of hopscotching with other people along this route. And you'll be seeing some of the same people as you go. They gave us the 411 that if you start on the right end, it's gonna be hotter down there. That's the hottest place. And then as you work your way down to the left, it gets cooler as you go. So we'll start somewhere in the middle and see if we can ease our way into the hot first, and then we'll go for a cold dip. It was always nice. So we're staying here all day, right? Oh, this is good. Spa life.
Yeah.
I still vote for this. Let's make a bunch of money and just travel the world testing all the spas out.
Okay. Don't forget to subscribe.
All right, we're gonna make our way down to the hot end, see how much we can take. Whoa, I'm boiling all of a sudden.
Yeah, there's a few like really, really hot spots.
Oh my gosh, like all of a sudden. Wait, but now here's a cooler spot. This is wild.
Holy smokes, right here.
Right there, it's boiling, right? Steven soup. That's the other thing, there are layers. It's like hot near the top, but then you can feel it cold at the bottom. We're probably just wandering into where someone just peed. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling it. Okay, no, that's enough. Just get close. Did you do it?
Oh, you're supposed to put a rock there? Is that
Go for it, babe. You can do it. All right, put a rock for us, babe. I'm coming up with you. I'll do it with you. Okay, let's go quick, because it's really hot. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, my legs are burning. Oh my God, my legs are burning. Hurry. Yes!
And I didn't knock the other one over.
Get away. Oh. That was really hot on our legs, but we put our rock. Steven's really braving it right now. Giving the poolside a try. I heard you get a nice little massage here at this waterfall, so I'll start with that. This main cooler area where people are is just kind of lukewarm, so it's really not a cold dip after all, but it feels nice. But if you make your way through the marsh, which I don't think I'm gonna go too far here, it supposedly does get colder and colder. I can feel the temperature dropping a little bit as I go. This is absolutely incredible and relaxing, even despite the fact that I've already been bitten twice by black flies, and those things hurt when they bite, but I don't mind. Once you get in the water, they can't get you. So Steven just noticed, check out our rings. That discoloration. That's supposed to be silver. That's silver.
Silver.
The gold is good. My white gold ring is good, but our silver rings are not so good. That was amazing, but we came out smelling a little bit like hard-boiled eggs, so we enjoyed a nice outdoor shower right along the Alaska Highway in this rest stop here. We got ourselves cleaned up and changed, and now it's time for an early dinner. I am reheating this curry that Steven made. It is my favorite meal of all time, and leftovers just make it that much better. He makes a huge pot whenever he does, so we get at least a couple days worth out of it. We're gonna have some of this now. It's not even 5 o'clock yet, but getting close. And then we have about a 2-hour drive to where we plan on spending the night. And we timed ourselves, I think, just right, so that we'll be driving when the the animals are out eating their dinners, which is supposed to be one of the peak times to see the animals. So we've been really lucky. We've been seeing them at all hours of the day, but I'm especially hopeful for some epic sightings on this next stretch. We are parked up. It's the end of day 4, and it is time for the stats.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, we made it to Yukon.
Yes, hello from Yukon.
Woo! We drove from Strawberry Flats down at Muncho Lake on the south end. That was mile marker 437.6. And we are now in Yukon for the night, our first night here at mile marker 612.8. We are actually parked up just off of the Alaska Highway, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, we did get some gas today. We got 22.218 liters of gas for a whopping 49.99 Canadian dollars. We are staying overnight right behind an iconic stop along the Alaska Highway, the Signpost Forest. So this puts us in the perfect spot for the activities that we want to do here in the Dawson Lake area tomorrow once we get going. We want to see the forest, of course, see all the signs. And then across the street from that is the Northern Lights Center, which I really want to check out. It's a planetarium, but with a Northern Lights focus. So we're in the perfect spot. We can pretty much roll out of bed. I mean, we can see the Signpost Forest literally right behind you there. This is an unofficial spot. We did find it on iOverlander. So there are plenty of other cars parked up here. Hopefully we're okay here for the night. We'll see if we get the knock.
Okay, let's talk about the stops we made today. First, we had the Muncho Overlook after we left our park up at the lake, and then we went to what was not the Mineral Licks Trail. Then we turned back and went back to the actual Mineral Licks Trail.
I mean, we had to find it. We couldn't be beat.
And then we moved on to spend an awesome afternoon at the Laird Hot Springs. And I think we still kind of smell like sulfur, even though we showered.
We definitely do. The whole van does now. We showered, we shampooed, we shower gelled, we lotioned, we rinsed our bathing suits, and for some reason, it still smells like eggs. Be forewarned if you go, but totally worth it, and I would do it again. And that brings us to the most exciting part of our day, the wildlife count.
Always the wildlife. We look forward to that most.
Favorite. And today was a record day for black bears.
Oh, man.
Tell them how many we saw.
13 black bears, including a couple of little babies.
Cubs! Oh, my goodness. Little guys.
And we had a couple bears cross the road in front of us.
Our second bear crossing in one day. Hi, buddy.
Amazing.
Ah, it was so cool. We got such good looks at all of them. All from safely inside the van, but oh, what a wonderful day for bears. And it was a bee day because we also saw 2 cute little bunnies.
Yep, count the bunnies.
Oh, we count the bunnies. But it was also an epic day for another bee animal.
Oh, yeah.
The bison.
They were out in full strength today.
Oh my goodness, we saw not one, but 2 separate herds, very separate. One was in British Columbia, the other was after we came into the Yukon. In British Columbia, it was a herd of what we counted to be 11 bison. We had to go back and review the footage so we could get that number for you. But in the Yukon, we couldn't even count. It was massive.
Probably 30.
So many bison.
Both sides of the road.
Dozens. That was epic. It brought back Wyoming vibes. But that's not even the most exciting part of the day. We had one other sighting that we have been waiting for since we started this trip. Oh, grizzly bear! And like Steven said, it was our first. Oh my gosh. It was just laying in the grass. It was chilling. We weren't even sure what we were seeing at first, but we got it clearly on video as we drove past.
There's a bear.
It's a grizzly.
Holy crap, it's our first grizzly. Oh, what a good day for wildlife.
Awesome.
I mean, we thought the day before couldn't be beat, and then today was just epic. So what are we, day 4 out of 10 now? Anything can happen from here. I'm so excited. We're going to tuck in and go to bed because we have a very exciting day planned tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Day 5. It's our first full day in the Yukon. We are in Dawson Lake. We spent the night here last night, and we are taking advantage of some of the services here before we go and explore the town. As I mentioned last night, we're going to start with the signpost forest. But we're really gonna start with emptying our gray water, filling up our fresh water, and hot tip for you RVers and camper vanners out there, there's a place right across from the visitor center and signpost forest called Tags. It's like a gas station, convenience store. They even have a diner inside. And if you get gas there, you can fill up your fresh water for free around back of the building. They have RV spots with water hookups, and they'll let you pull up to one and fill yourself up. If you don't buy gas there, they only charge you $5. So it's a great deal either way. And then here at the city park, they have a free RV dump. So we're utilizing that for our gray water. Amazing services here, so easy. And honestly, we've been finding them to be pretty plentiful all along the highway. So you will not go with a full tank of gray water or yucky stuff or without fresh water if you plan accordingly, because there are definitely many stops along the way to take care of these things. Ooh, Australia.
We're at the world-famous Signpost Forest, which is an absolute must-visit when you cross over into the Yukon. The Signpost Forest was started by U.S. soldiers who were constructing the Alaska Highway during World War II. One soldier put up a sign pointing towards his hometown in Illinois. Soon after, other soldiers followed suit. Ever since then, this has grown into a forest of over 100,000 signs.
There's a great range of signs here, from homemade, things that people carved into the wood with like their family name or the time that they visited here. But there's also a lot of signs that are definitely stolen from city. They must be city property. So it's kind of funny to see how many people have gone ahead and taken their town signs, street signs, things like that. There's even one from Poland. For those who don't know, I was recently granted my Polish citizenship, so I'm always excited and a little bit proud to see something Polish everywhere I go. Toilet seat. We got frying pans and shoes, all kinds of stuff being left behind. Steven's consulting Google to see if we can find the original signpost.
Unfortunately, the original signs and signposts are no longer here.
The back side of the signpost forest is directly across the parking lot from the visitor center. They are so friendly there, and they gave us so much amazing information, including taking a look at our video of the brown bear that we saw and confirming that it was a grizzly. We were starting to second guess ourselves. We parked right over there. That's where we spent the night. And across the street that way is the Tags, where you can get your water filled up if you buy gas. Even the Northern Lights Center has its own signpost. So we just came out of the Northern Lights Center, and it was such a cool experience. It's a planetarium-style theater in there, and you get to see two films. They're each about 20 minutes. They show them back to back. The first one is typical of what you would expect to see in a planetarium. It's about the Earth and our solar system, that sort of thing. And then the second one is all about Northern Lights, and it includes some amazing footage of an aurora storm. I can't even begin, because honestly, we're here in the summer. I don't think we're gonna see any northern lights while we're here. It is suggested that if we stay up all night, we might catch some at the darkest point if we have clear skies, but I'm not terribly hopeful for that happening. So for now, it was fun to see that footage totally surrounding us within the theater. So it was just like we were looking up at the sky and they were there in real life size, full force. Now, we're gonna hit the road and head about 3 hours north toward Teslin. Actually, it might be west. I'll have to double check. don't know if you could tell from some of those shots, but we have been noticing the last couple of days, pretty much since we were in the Muncho Lake area, this drive just keeps getting prettier and prettier. As I mentioned, we're making our way to Teslin today, but we've just made an unplanned stop because we saw a sign for the Rancheria Falls, and I decided to look them up in my Milepost, and it's a pretty easy walk, about 10 minutes to some pretty waterfalls. So we figured, why not just stop and check it out? This is what I love about the Milepost. We didn't use it as much as we probably could have for planning this trip, but it's such a great resource to have as we go. Because if you're not on a tight schedule, if you've got a little free form to do as you go through this Alaska Highway road trip, you can just use the book to check on things that you're seeing along the way and decide in the moment if it's something you want to do. One thing I did notice here, we haven't started the walk to the falls yet, is that it's right off the Alaska Highway, and once again, a good area for boondocking. There are a couple of these fire rings here, so you could definitely get at least a couple people camping here or boondocking overnight. I think it's a great place to stay, and I wouldn't mind doing it myself if we didn't have someplace we wanted to be for tomorrow morning. But we are going to take the 10-minute walk and at least check out the waterfalls while we're here. Look at this fantastic campsite. We're right off the highway again. There's somebody's dog poop. I know dog poop when I see it. That's one poop I do know. This is the view from our bed out of the back of the van.
This is wonderful.
All right, it's a little chilly, but we're gonna do this quickly because we're gotta get inside, make some dinner, and settle in for the night.
Yes.
Let's have today's stats, shall we?
We started at the Signpost Forest, which is mile 612.8.
And that's in Dawson Lake.
Dawson Lake, correct. And we drove to where we are now. We're going to spend the night at mile 742. So that has us driving today a total of just under 130 miles.
We also made several stops, which we're gonna put on the screen right over here for you. You were along with us for all of those, except for a quick stop in a grocery store, which I'm sure you didn't miss. But that was also in Dawson Lake. They have a nice market there. So if you do need to stock up along the route, highly recommend that too. We got some gas. I wrote it on my hand. We got 35.182 liters of gas for $68.20 Canadian. So it seems like we're filling up about a half a tank or so almost every day now. And finally, for the biggest stat of the day.
Yes.
Well, maybe not the biggest, but the most exciting for sure. It's our wildlife stat. Ready to tell them what we saw today?
I'm ready.
Let's get a drum roll, please. One black bear. And I know that seems anticlimactic, but actually,
I mean, that's
that
amazing.
one was as exciting as our very first bear ever,
Yeah.
which we saw back in Banff. They just never get old. Every time we see one, it's just like this, it's a bear. It's so freaking cool.
Awesome.
So anyhow, there is one black bear, but we have a theory as to why we didn't see more wildlife.
Yeah, we noticed here in the Yukon as we've been driving farther that the brush is kind of all the way up to the road. So we think that A, they're either not coming that close, or B, we're just not able to see them as much.
Yeah.
But previously, you might notice in a lot of our footage, the brush is way back from the road. They keep it pretty well clear, and our theory is we think it's purposeful.
Yeah, even the trees, not just the brush. Like everything is cut way back. It's just grassy for many, many feet on either side of the roads here. Yeah. And I think that is by design. It's really smart because it gives drivers such a good chance to see what might be coming into the road. There are a lot of large trucks that use these freeways and these highways. What are they called here? Not in California?
Highway.
Highway. And they don't have time to stop for animals. And I think that's part of the reason that in the US especially, the highways are totally littered with dead animal carcasses. We haven't seen that here. And that's a large part of the reason why I think this is all by design. For some reason, this one area, Yukon, we went through was not cut back as much. There was a lot of new growth along that area. So I have a feeling they do trim it back, maybe just not as frequently. And Canada, you're brilliant. We love you for doing that.
Yeah.
I should also point out that this morning when we got started, I said it was our first full day in the Yukon. I was wrong. We're back in British Columbia. This highway just weaves up and down along the border.
Guess what? What? We're back in British Columbia. That was a short little trip to Yukon. Guess what? What? We're in Yukon again. What was that? Not even a kilometer back in British Columbia?
We're taking our last dip into British Columbia. Tomorrow we'll make the rest of the way towards Teslin, and by then we will definitely be firmly in Yukon territory, and we won't be back in British Columbia until later this summer when we leave Alaska and come back down, and we're gonna see Canada's west coast. But we got a lot to go before that, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Instead, let's go have some dinner.
Yeah. Speaking of what else we have coming up this summer, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see it all along the way. Hey, guess what? Today's Andy's birthday. It's June 13th, so if you'll do me a favor, drop a comment below and leave some love for her. I did make Andy some brownies for her birthday, and we don't have any candles, but I do have one of these.
Our first fan brownie.
So everybody at home, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy. Happy birthday to you. Let's go to Alaska.
My wish already came true anyway. I've seen so many bears.
See if any bears are waiting outside to have brownies with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning. It is day 6 and we are in Teslin. We've been up and at it for about an hour now, and we're currently at the George Johnston Museum. This place is so fascinating. I highly recommend to stop here if you come through. It's $8 per person for adults, and it's a very small museum. You can get through it pretty quickly, but it is just so informative and fascinating. George Johnston was a remarkable Tlingit man, born in 1893. Actually quite a ways from Teslin village. He was born in a very remote region that you couldn't get to any way other than probably boat or by foot. Growing up, George was a typical inland Tlingit man. He was a snowshoe maker, a hunter, he trapped, he built boats, and when he was 16 years old, he took a trip to Juneau, which was very modern for a young man of his upbringing. It planted a very futuristic seed in him and really opened his mind up to some wild ideas. He decided at that time that he was going to buy a car one day. He also ordered a camera from Eaton's catalog and taught himself to photograph and develop the film. He took the camera everywhere with him, thus recording events in Tlingit life and many portraits of the people that he encountered and knew at the time. In 1928, he began to have a road cut in Teslin, and by 1929, he had enough money that he had made from fur sales to go to Whitehorse, where he bought a 1928 Chevrolet. He took a very quick driving lesson on the airfield there, and then had the car transported back to Teslin. It had to go by barge. Of course, you can imagine how people in Teslin reacted when he arrived with a car to a place with no roads. There are many wonderful stories of George here at the museum. So we highly recommend a visit here when you're coming through Teslin. He's a fascinating person, and you really get to see all aspects of life before the highway and before European influence in this Tlingit region. So the George Johnston Museum is the only stop we made in Teslin because now we are headed to a little detour. We're going to veer off of the Alaska Highway and go onto the Yukon Highway for just a little bit so that we can see the world's smallest desert. To get to the Carcross Desert, you're going to make a left off of the Alaska Highway toward Tagish on Tagish Road. Follow that through the town of Tagish all the way to Carcross, at which point you'll see a junction with the Klondike Highway. Turn right on the Klondike Highway, you'll be going north, and about a mile down, you'll see the Carcross Desert. Continue north on the Klondike Highway, you'll reconnect with the Alaska Highway not long before the city of Whitehorse. If you make a wrong turn and go left on the South Klondike Highway, you might just want to keep going, because that'll take you all the way to Skagway, which we got to see when we went on our cruise a few years ago. Really cool town, so might be another side trip to consider.
Carcross Desert is fondly referred to as the world's smallest desert, but it doesn't actually qualify as a desert because it gets too much precipitation.
But if it walks like a desert and it talks like a desert, the way these sand dunes do, we'll just let it be a desert. I mean, walking kind of feels like in Death Valley at those sand dunes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This is actually bigger than I thought it would be.
And now we're in Whitehorse. This is the largest city in Yukon and the capital. It's where the vast majority of the population lives, which also makes it a really convenient spot to stop along your Alaska Highway road trip. They've got tons of options for groceries, filling up on gas, RV parks if you want to spend the night here. This is your last good-sized city stop before you get up to Fairbanks. So take advantage as you're coming through. Now right behind me here is the SS Klondike. This is one of only 2 remaining White Pass sternwheelers left. What is a White Pass sternwheeler? Lucky for you, I can answer that question. These boats were used prior to the Alaska Highway construction in order to get supplies, mail, food, all kinds of things up and down the rivers and into communities like Teslin, where we were earlier today, that did not have roads. In fact, you might recall George Johnston bought a car that he had to get to Teslin, which had no roads. He used one of these sternwheelers to get it there.
The other White Pass sternwheeler is up in Dawson City, which is not part of our road trip, but that might be something you consider for yours.
We have just pulled over. We've got some weather outside, so we're going to do our day 6 wrap up from right here in the van. Yeah. I wish you could see the view that we pulled up to. It is getting covered over by fog now, but we have got these mountains just ahead of us at Kluane National Park with the ice fields and everything on them. They are just white and gorgeous. This is quite the view. I can't wait to wake up to this in the morning. Hopefully it's sunny and beautiful. Here are our stats for the day. We drove from mile roughly 742, where we boondocked last night, to this gorgeous rest stop at mile 976.9. And you will recall that we took a little detour off of the Alaska Highway to head down to Carcross and pick up the Klondike Highway for a short while. So that was fun to check out. For gas, we did get some more gas again, about a half a tank. We got 47, actually more than half a tank this time, didn't we?
A little more than half, yeah.
47.512 liters for a whopping $92.60 Canadian. Cha-ching! That's where the vast majority of our money is going on this trip. It's the gas, because we are preparing a lot of our own food. You'll notice, aside from the cinnamon buns, we haven't really stopped much to eat places. There have been a lot of places that have been tempting, especially just now in Whitehorse. There were a couple of breweries and pubs and interesting looking restaurants, seafood restaurants and things. And it was very tempting to say, well, why don't we just dine out tonight? But we're saving the money for the gas, and we're going to be practical and dine in the van tonight.
Okay, you were with us on our stops today, so we're just going to run them down the screen here for you. And let's move on to today's wildlife.
That's the best part.
Starting with something we have not seen on this trip yet. We saw 3 prairie dogs.
How funny is that? They were standing at attention right as we drove by. I mean,
so
I don't think I've seen those since Colorado.
Yeah. And moving on up a little bit, we saw 2 black bears today.
Oh, our favorite.
Our favorite by far. Oh. And finally, there was one more thing today.
A grizzly.
One grizzly bear.
Those are always so cool to see. It was definitely a grizzly bear today. There was no second guessing ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not seeing as many bits of wildlife as we saw in the first stretch of this, but it's still so cool. Every little thing we see is rad. It is kind kind of interesting to me, however, that we haven't seen more birds, just like interesting birds, like of prey, any eagles, hawks, things like that, because, I mean, we've been seeing hawks everywhere.
Yeah.
They're so much more common than I ever realized. And we definitely thought we'd be seeing some more bald eagles up this way. Haven't seen a single one yet. I mean, it's mostly crows and a few Canada geese. So we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled as we get closer to Alaska. And with any luck, at least by the time we get through Alaska and maybe in about a month or so, I expect we're going to be seeing a lot more bald eagles. So that's it for us for day 6. We're going to get in back now, turn on some heat because it's a little chilly with this rain, and make ourselves some dinner, get tucked in for the night, and with any luck, we'll have beautiful weather tomorrow for our drive into Kluane National Forest. Tune in next week for the final episode of our Alaska Highway road trip and the start of our summer in Alaska. Baked Alaska!